Beloved heart, I invite you to sign up to my mailing list, and as a result of signing up, you will get a free gift. It's a 5D rebalance tune-up of all these chakras, and chakras are my specialty, so I would love to gift you with this transmission that is filled with light language and codes to help you stay balanced and tuned up during these increased frequencies of energy of this ascension, this new earth frequency. So check out the links in the notes of this show, and I look forward to connecting with you. I am sending you love. This is the transfiguration of the new you. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode on my podcast called Ascended Earth, the Transfiguration of the New Human. I'm Monica Bermudez. I'm your host, and I have a very special guest here with us. Her name is Brooke Ranvek, and so I've known Brooke now for some time, and it's like talking to a soul sister. So so this is going to be a very special episode about the Sacred Heart journey, and we'll get more into it. But first, I want to introduce Brooke to everybody. Welcome, Brooke.
Thank you for having me, Monica. Yes, thank you for the introduction.
Oh, yeah, it's such a pleasure to have you here. Would love to have you introduce yourself to us in the audience who doesn't know you as well. So if you could just share, some words about yourself.
Okay. Some words about myself. I am from Minnesota. I am a wife and a mom of two boys. And yeah, just on a pretty crazy, wild journey. More along the lines of on the inside.
Yeah, but tell us more about like how you got into all this like crazy stuff, which is normal now, which is all about the energy of things. How did you what attracted you to all of this? If you could talk a little bit about your journey on that.
Yeah. Well, when this all started happening, it was like the first major shock was like late 2011 going into 2012. And at that time, I was just living my ideal life, the life that I dreamed of. I mean, I was living it, but I couldn't stand my thoughts. I couldn't stand being around myself. And I didn't want that energy to vibe onto my family because that's not why I had a family. And I just remember one day I'm sitting on the next to the bed, folding clothes, and there's this voice that says, Brooke, they're your thoughts. They're coming from you. You can change them. And I'm just getting chills, because I can tell this
Mm-hmm.
story necessarily feel, but like I'm really remembering the enormity of that one little experience because it shot off a rocket. Like my whole life turned upside down, in a moment's time. Um, I had been introduced to the New Earth book. And so, I opened that up and started reading. And I mean, it was so beautiful. And I was, in the past, like I had really bad anxiety. Um, and, it kept me from a lot of things. But, once I started spreading the word. This is in 2012. Okay. It didn't get too far for me before I went into, like some seclusion again. Um, and then, uh, rode the wave up and down up until about 2019, where it was just everything was changing. And then finally in 2021, I came out, came out of the spiritual closet. And that's when I met you.
I love it. I don't think I've ever heard your whole story on that, but it's really fascinating though to hear it from others because it's, similar to mine in a way. There's certain things that trigger us, which triggers the word that I use for activation, that will just like activate us into this path, right, of the spiritual awakening in our own soul. And so there's this calling that, is reminding us to go on the path that we signed up to as a soul contract. And, everything comes in its own divine timing when that shift happens. And so, yeah, so the coming out of the whole spiritual closet was one of my biggest things for myself because I did, a lot of things behind the scene, but I never thought I would be out in the spotlight in the front line, and speaking to like people like publicly, like I am now, like we are. So yeah, it could be nerve-wracking, going through that, but it takes a lot of courage and bravery to do that. So yeah, so that's a very important message though for a lot of listeners also who are on the edge and wondering, if this is their right path, if they're hearing this correctly, if it's their ego or the higher self that is really talking to them, like their own intuition. Um, so I know like for this, we want to talk about the Sacred Heart journey, but that's really where the Sacred Heart comes in, the strength of the heart, of the resilience, of the trust, and believing in self. And so, we kind of like start jumping into that because right now where we are with this energy of 2024, and it's not like it's going to end anytime soon, but it's like from my own personal experience and from your experience too, Brooke, that we were talking about before jumping on this recording. But if you want to share, jump into that some more, as I know that this is really deep into the awakening and ascension that's going on the planet.
Absolutely. So, right before I had was introduced to you, I had felt so disconnected from my body. At that time, I was literally watching myself just like live this physical life, but I was not just I wasn't connected with myself. And there was this one day where I was like, I hugged my kid and I was like, um, I'm not feeling anything. And if I'm not feeling anything, like my heart, like I wasn't feeling it in my heart, then that means that they're not feeling anything from me. And so I got to do something about this. And I mean, I was smart enough to know that I was so disconnected and there was just, I didn't know what I needed to do to get my shit together. But excuse my language. But and that's why when I was introduced to you, we met on Clubhouse and I was reading your bio, and I mean, weird things had started happening to me before, like dragons were coming into my life and things like that. And so I read your bio and I was like, well, whatever she does, it doesn't sound like the normal stuff that I know that doesn't work. Like therapy or anything at that time, even 3 years ago, was is just wild, the changes that occurred since then. And so what I wanted to ask you too is, since we're quite a ways out from there, like, yeah, we got on a call. Yeah, it was a discovery call. I felt the dragons, and all I knew was I felt like I was at the spa when I was done. I don't care. Sign me up. But what did you like see about me at that point where, maybe I didn't see about myself?
Well, what I felt, because I feel more, like, than the feeling that I was getting was the star seed that was blossoming, that was ready to just like come out to the world. And that's really where I was focused to facilitate and be a catalyst for you, because you already have these abilities, in yourself. And the same, for the listeners who are listening, there's a lot in us. So, the human that we are, human is not weak, human is strong, we are strong. And so I saw that in you. And I saw that, that feeling, because through the feeling is how I see as well, some of my information that I get, through my higher self. And so I saw that you had these amazing abilities of your own channeling, that you're gonna uh, do, your work for this awakening, this ascension, your own part, right? So having that domino rippling effect on others. And that was just, enough for me to see the results in how you were blossoming and growing in that. And that's really where I was, with that.
Just because, I mean, now looking back at it and the significant shift it changed in my life, and as weird as it was, like I'm from a small town and I'm using light language to heal, and I don't know what it is, but I know how it makes me feel. And so with that, like, I've still been constantly like every waking, sleeping breath, I'm still working on opening that heart. Like, it's, it's crazy how protective I've been. But one thing that like you really brought out of me was like this mission that I have as well, is to create the new human, the transfiguration, and being part of that whole process with my human body. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that was an amazing experience that we had together, especially like seeing how things were unfolding for you. And even now, like when you're on your Facebook and the information that you share in your videos, and everything that is coming up for you and how you're helping others as well to achieve their their mission, their purpose. And so we're all just expressing that in all different ways of being facilitator and a catalyst, and creating rippling effects everywhere we go. And so how was it for you though when you first experienced like light language? That was your first time, right, being exposed to the light language?
Yeah. And before that, we didn't need to quite communicate so in depth online. So I wasn't exposed to really much spirituality at all. Um, but uh, I just, well, for one, I absolutely loved it. And I just remember being so angry and frustrated every time I would come to a session with you. I'm like, I'm angry. And just like in such a powerful way, like, oh my God, like because of the work that we were doing together, everything was coming up.
Hmm.
And um and one thing that I think that is really important that people, I don't think they talk enough about, but how important it is to, yes, we're doing the healing, yes, we're bringing it up, but we have to transfigure this. We have to have means with this physical body to make all of that craziness or that frustration or anger into, the gold it is. But it has to be transfigured, right? Like, but it takes a process. It takes a process. And, with the gene keys, if anybody knows about them. But my attraction sphere itself is Gene Key 47, and Gene Key 47 is specifically transfiguration and
Yeah.
mutation and transfiguration. And so this is what I was attracting into my life. And I didn't know how to quite handle so many energies, or even know that they weren't even my energies and things like that. So it's always been a part of my process to utilize my physical body to transmute my own energy. But until I really started recognizing that that's my gift, I was I was really a victim to it. And a lot of times I still can be unknowingly, right? Like,
Hmm.
I guess this is mine to transfigure for you,
Yeah.
because I have that gift that is within me, and that's why people are attracted to me as well.
Everybody is. It's a true statement. But I love it when you speak our language about gene keys. So gene keys, 47 is the transfiguration, right? Which is the title of this podcast or part of it. And but that is your gene key specifically. Is that
Yeah,
what you
it's
said?
it's the attraction sphere. So it's my in the Venus sequence, it's about the relationships. So
Mm-hmm.
all of my relationships are, it goes kind of back to what we were talking about before we press record, about like wanting so much more for other people than
Mm.
for themselves, and moving away from that and being able to be um, healthy and happy without having to save the world. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. See, that's a great segue to talk about the gene keys. And yeah, so you've been studying it so well, right? And like I don't know if you've been doing any modalities in it, how that's been evolving for you, or would love to hear more. Listeners would love to hear more too.
Okay, so this is something that I absolutely love, and this is where my heart is when it comes to the Gene Keys, and it is the Delta program. And the Delta program, it's not super well known because it's a lot. Richard uh, channeled this from the angelic realm. And so it's full of algorithms and things like that. Essentially, we there were 7 of us that get on a flight together. We're for 7 weeks. We are one, right? And so that's what it is supposed to create as well, is that sense of one. And so once we have like a embodied sense of this one, then we can bring it here to the physical realm and start to actually manifest it physically. So then
Hmm.
people can see it to believe it, where we believe it. So therefore we can see it, right?
Yeah, interesting. It's interesting how the gene key works. And I've had, different experiences with the gene key where I had my mentor who would actually talk to the gene key itself, like in the spiritual realm, or the galactic realm, because they're actual living entities. So like the transfiguration is its own living entity, and so is like grace, which is one of the gene keys, like city of grace. And they all just manifest in their own way through us, as a humans, but also in the physical world itself. So looking at it from like different point of views, from the way that it was described, in the book itself, but also looking beyond just what the words say, is they're actual like transmissions and activations, and they are an actual like living beings, that exist in this galactic form of transmission. So it is fascinating, to hear from like all angles. And because I love to explore like different ways that people like express them, in their own unique way. And so I'm sure that you express it in your own different way as well, like you just explained, there. And things are evolving in that way.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really amazing because this last Delta crew I got together, out of seven of us, only two are from the United States. And so,
wow.
I mean, and so when you're working in each other's auras,
Mm-hmm.
the further you can expand around the world, the uh, further you can, with your own aura. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, it's so crazy. But it's a dance, it's a game, and ultimately, uh, the reason why it is so powerful is because grace is part of one of the weeks that we work on, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that is hold on, or
Mm-hmm.
the programming partner to 47. My husband has 22, I have 47, so we
Oh.
complete each other. But like that, like that's that dance. And I wouldn't know those things necessarily if it wasn't for the gene keys, but creating the living context that it
Mm-hmm.
is for me through the Delta program is like it's out of this world, and it is so much fun, but it is also intense, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like this week I'm transmuting, I'm abandoning and feeling everybody's trauma, the collective trauma of
Mm-hmm.
all seven of us. And
Yeah.
excited because the process we have to do it is to work in the causal plane. So
Mm-hmm.
then it's a lot more fun, and I can bring magic to something that physically doesn't necessarily always feel the best, especially when you have to stop and feel these feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of being human. Feeling and but like I said, that's our strength also. Like, and that's why we have to like shift that because we still need our physical body to still be here and be able to express our galactic starseed selves through them. And a lot of our physical body is evolving for that reason, and becoming more light filled. So we're having the ability to receive more light, because a lot of our cells have gone through a lot of like damage, at the nucleus level, DNA level, through our lifetimes, through our family ancestry or ancestry, soul ancestry. And so a lot of that damage to the DNA is now unraveling itself and releasing in different ways. And so it could be expressed in different ways. There's just like painful, like old emotions that probably want to come up, and um, then, physical ailments as well, all sorts of stuff, And so that allowing that density to be released and clear is opening up a space in the DNA to receive a lot more light codes because there's more to our DNA than just what scientists have always said or the doctors said, where a lot of is junk DNA, which is not. That junk DNA is really what's being activated right now. So it requires a lot of energy and effort, for us to really integrate all of that. And so, coming back to the point about like the Sacred Heart is being able to have the resilience for all of these changes and what appears to be like chaos going on as well. And, like I would love to hear though, like what would you think though, what gene keys would be the Sacred Heart?
25, probably. Um, that's unconditional love.
Hmm.
Universal love. Sorry, universal love.
Yeah.
Um, that's the one that pops up to me, but ultimately, like, I could find it in every single one because the more you can learn them, they pretty much all say the same thing over and over again, and you don't even know it. But ultimately, like, really, like for me right now, I'm in like a warrior energy of like, I'm the boots on the ground. I am, and constantly
Mm-hmm.
coming back to myself, like, okay, you need to be a leader. If you want this to be different, it's you. You're going to be the leader. Oh, okay. But it takes like a warrior stance
Mm-hmm.
in order for me to do a lot of the things that I'm doing. I'm constantly bringing it back to this sacred heart, this
Mm-hmm.
sacred heart. And like I had said to you, I mean, I'm still working on opening it up. But going back to some of our specific light languages that you did for me, just going back in and feeling it and, opening it to um, handle being human, pretty much.
So just now you were talking about like the Sacred Heart, bringing it back, being human, being able to maintain yourself as a human. 'Cause that's really where the essence is of the Sacred Heart. It's really in all of us, in all things, in the universe itself. And so it creates this also this other energy of resilience as well, like strength. And I could see the heart, like you're talking about being like you're feeling like a spiritual warrior right now because of all these changes going on. But it's like the chaos has been rising so much everywhere in the collective, right, energy in our family dynamics and world itself, and seeing, a lot of things that are going on everywhere, extremities, right? But really, like I see like the Sacred Heart also being this place of being like the spiritual warrior as well. So, though this is, the place for like universal love and connection and all that, it's just far more than that as well. Like there's more, much deeper, like there is this warrior type essence as well, where it has this courage and this bravery to be able to face, all the changes going on in the world and the chaos, and being able to stand tall and still stand in our power, even when things may happen where we run into someone who is, not, or we get, have like bad days. In other words, like we feel down, we feel like grief or like frustration, or somebody really ticks us off, like get triggered different ways. But it all comes back to the Sacred Heart, because what it is, just this wholeness of the whole heart, the upper and the lower coming together, and it's very alchemizing. Um, would you say that's how it feels to you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely. And I one of the phrases that just keep coming, two phrases come up for me right now is take courage. You need to take it. It's to take. We can't just wait around for courage or go on a sacred heart journey for to take that courage. And then strong core, tight core, heart, soft heart. So those are two things that, with everything that's going on, I feel stronger than I've ever felt in my heart. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like a level of like you can have your heart that's open, but at the same time, it's discerning, and it doesn't like mean that you have to take crap from anybody else either, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like this very strong, like universal strength to it. Like, it's a universal love, but it can also be like this love that, is not going to withstand or tolerate, others trying to abuse it, or or even like from self, abuse from self-criticizing.
The dragon energy, like
Yeah.
that is like. I'm gonna be strong and I'm not gonna put up with so, right? Like,
Yes, yes.
yeah, that's amazing. So Monica, did you go on your own Sacred Heart journey? Is that
I
how you
did.
also do that for me?
Yeah, so like for me, I'm glad that you asked that question because for me, like what really activated things moving forward was like my divorce, right? Like the end of like 2012 and 2013, I was officially divorced and I went through like all sorts of like confusion and doubts, about like my own, whether I should even trust my higher self because why didn't they warn me about like this marriage or, being in this toxic relationships? I was a bit mad at myself, mad at my higher self and my own guidance, and so, but in that anger and that frustration, I self-discovered myself. And what I realized was that they had always been talking to me, but I wasn't paying attention to the red flags. I was ignoring them because I wasn't in a place that I had like completely healed myself. And so where I really needed to establish was my own relationship with myself. And so in that journey of like self-discovering myself and creating this relationship in myself, I was also healing the relationship with others. And that's what really activated a lot of my own sacred heart, heart activation itself. And what also triggered was my other abilities and switched on, I would say, like to light language of the soul. And so that's when things just started to come together because I started to follow more of my own guidance and my own sacred heart. And it was like a working progress. It probably took like several years before I even came out into like public and be able to speak. And also like it just went through different phases. So like when I started doing like the work, like you and I when we met and I was doing those sessions, um, I helped bring it all together in a short time frame. Then it would have taken like several years, and now things are like more quantum, more accelerated. So now that is like getting in a much faster way of like getting the activation through like the light language that's been evolving inside of me. It's like this program that keeps changing, with these new energies. So they could take, a lot faster to receive the energy in others and facilitate. But yeah, that's been like my Sacred Heart journey. And it continues, because I feel like sometimes the universe is like testing us to see how resilient we are, like in our heart. Do you ever feel that?
Like, and you know when it's happening too. You're
Yes,
like,
yes.
okay.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. That's so awesome. And so, what do you see for like the future of light language?
For sure, everybody in this planet is going to be speaking in their own different ways. Do you ever feel like you want to speak it? Or like, I feel like it's not just spoken in people. Light language can be expressed in different ways, right? Could be through art, could be through like music, could be through like writing and, all these different ways. How do you feel that your relationship with light language?
I feel it's stuck in my throat. I feel like
Mm,
yeah, I'm playing around with it all the time, and
mm-hmm.
oh, like I know that's not a normal language, um, but I just keep feeling like it's stuck in my throat. So, and I know you had mentioned us in the past, like start talking to your dog, or just start
Mm-hmm.
talking. But yeah, so that's kind of I'm probably really afraid of what would happen, honestly. Like I'm not sure if people could handle that.
Oh, oh, they'll handle it. Where it is, it's just coming in like and trusting that what you're receiving and whatever wants to come out, it's gonna come out. It's good to just let it express itself, however it wants to express itself. And so the animals are a good way to practice with. I mean, your pets and stuff, they're very open to like all of this.
Yeah, I've done a little bit and things like that. Ultimately, um, whenever I bring my heart to anything, I always feel like that's light, and that's light language. Or when
Yes.
because sometimes, like, if I watch myself talk about the gene keys and stuff like that, I'm like, I know that, but I know that, you know what I'm saying? But because it's just so spoken from a different place, I guess you could say, you know?
Yeah, that's correct. And so, like, even when you're like speaking in your public videos, this goes for anybody who's listening, right? Like, you just be sharing information that you're talking about something that you're so passionate about, right? There is a form of this energy that is also being emitted and expressed from your body that comes from the heart as well. Because, what scientists are finding is their measurements that of the electromagnetic energy that the heart generates. To me, that is like another form of light language. How that is being expressed to the world is different for everybody.
I'm glad I asked that question, because now I'll start to see it probably everywhere.
Yeah. And this question is going to help for a lot of people who are also like asking this as well, who are into the light language and wondering about it. So I'm glad you asked. Thank you.
Yes, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's time to like really start wrapping it up, but let's just go like over maybe if you have some final thoughts you want to share with everybody.
Like, what's coming up for me is simplicity, like, just and that's just coming from the heart, like,
Hmm.
probably because it's something I deal with all the time, especially as a creative, right? Like, I like to make things more complex than they need to be, and just like really simplicity is coming from my heart. I don't know, maybe it'll mean something to somebody, but
Yeah, definitely. But that is a great word because I was actually thinking about that the other day. I was like, I need to simplify my life. And that's really what's been my intention and kind of like my message also to myself is that trying to simplify more of my life and not overcomplicate it, but being lighter. 'Cause that's really where we're heading with these new energies is really about simplicity and being lighter, like literally.
yeah, and it just probably it adds to the chaos, the complexity, and so
Yes.
keeps you further away from your truth. So, yeah.
Perfect. So we will just conclude now this episode. Thank you so much, Brooke, for being here. It's such a pleasure having you with us. And just for everybody to know, if you want to find Brooke, you'll find all her information in this episode notes and way to contact her. You can talk to her some more about her gene keys and everything that she's doing. She's doing a lot of great stuff. So she also talks about fitness and health and beauty. So there's a lot. And then she adds, complements some of this other spiritual energy work that she's doing as well in the galactic and channeling. So check her out and be a part of her world.
You're welcome to be. Yeah, I mean, I document everything. So,
Yes, yes.
yeah,
Well, thank you so much. Right.
okay. All right, thank you, Monica.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to click like, save, and share with others so they can also experience what you just experienced. And stay tuned for some more high vibe episodes. And I'll be connecting with you in the next quantum field. Sending you so much love.